Hey everyone, dropping in again for another little conversation, a timeless chat about your nervous system. I'm curious to know, how is the state of your nervous system? What is it like when there's a stressor or something that ruffles the feathers? How does your nervous system respond? Does that fight or flight activate? Most likely. But then the real key thing is, how easily does it regulate again? How easily does it shift from sympathetic into parasympathetic nervous system? Studying holistic integrated creative arts therapy, we delved into the nervous system and the stress response, the fight or flight response, this pulsation of hormones through the body after a stress response, which the mind calls fear. And so fear actually lives only in the mind. It may feel like there's something in the body. It may seem like it's from outside, but that's the mind creating that, saying that, labeling something as scary, as something that produces anxiety, confusion. And so the more that you can actually know what an upregulated nervous system feels like for you, the more chance you have at even realizing how to relax. I speak from personal experience. My nervous system has been activated for a very long time. I was extremely active throughout school, high school, lots of sport, very, very studious, very fast pace, always busy, going into uni, always busy, bike riding all around everywhere, then going traveling, then living in Berlin. Like there was always go, go, go. And I became so accustomed to that state of being that I didn't even realize that that baseline meant that my nervous system was activated. And when I came into a downregulated space, I'd be extremely sleepy, all my stuff would come up, all my emotions that weren't able to be processed in an upregulated space came up. And it just meant that my body held a lot of tension. My mind held a lot of confusion. The capacity to communicate clearly felt tainted, like suddenly in conversation when it was a bit heated, or a discussion or an argument or confrontation, I went into trauma response. Freeze. Like the protector within me knew that this is something painful and we're already dealing with a lot. So the block comes in. Okay, well, we know that, well, we have this idea that if you speak, it gets worse. So to protect, we'll erase the capacity to speak and then we'll be fine. It's these really distorted defense mechanisms that actually make it worse, that have served a function, and we love these protective parts. We thank them, we hold them, we see them. We, as I'm doing with Demian, as you might have seen in the podcast I had with him, we renegotiate these parts. And so, in session or out of session, you can still renegotiate the parts of yourself that are creating confusion or deeming something as anxious or fearful. And the way that you can do that is starting at least to feel into the body. Where is that emotion? Okay, you're feeling it in your guts, you're feeling it in your solar plexus. Well, if you tune into that section, what is the feeling that you're experiencing? Is it dis-ease, uncomfort, anxiety, anger, frustration, confusion, grief? Okay, well, what does that emotion look like? Can you play with that? Can you play with how maybe that emotion of frustration wants to take a form in your awareness so that you can actually communicate with it more? Maybe that form wants to express itself in your awareness, in your psyche, through your perception as another human, or a color, a form of light. I guess this is where your inner child comes in and assists you in this process. the wisdom of our inner child to innovatingly, if that's even a word, assist in us creating space between these thought forms to then renegotiate, to tune back into how we're really feeling at the core, behind the anxiety, behind the fear. Maybe there's some unprocessed emotion of grief that wants to come through. Maybe there's a memory of when you were a kid and your parents were really fighting and you decided in that moment that that's a bad thing. I'm not safe when that happens. So if that happens again, I shut down and I hide. Okay, so there are so many layers to this. And through holistic integrated creative arts therapy, through training as a shamanic practitioner, through the psychic development work that I've been doing, I've been able to start to dive within. And of course, through this extremely powerful partnership that I'm in and working with different teachers, there are so many ways for your stuff to come up and for you to actually see where you're at, to tune in to where your nervous system is at. Are you upregulated all the time, actually? What happens when you are relaxed? Is your mind busy? Can you actually relax? What does relaxed even mean to you? Does relax mean, okay, I'm relaxing, but I'm still texting people, reading a book, painting simultaneously while eating something and drinking a cacao? Right? For me at least, I would associate relaxed as still doing something. Relaxed for me was, drawing, painting, reading, and it wasn't relaxing. It felt like just literally doing nothing, just sitting. That for me was torture. I was like, what the frick am I doing with this? I could be doing this, I could be doing this, I could be doing this. And there's a positive feeling with that maybe, but that's still an upregulated nervous system. Downregulation is easeful. Downregulation may feel sort of sleepy. Downregulation moves away from anxiety and into clarity. Because what is this stuck emotion except that? Stuck emotion, stuck energy. And if you can move energy through the channel, then that's great. The visual that I like to paint this with is if your nervous system is upregulated, sympathetic nervous system is on fight or flight, freeze or fawn, that channel, for me, when I visualize, it gets inflamed, right? And so the space in the channel gets narrower. So how is that energy going to move through easily? Because all it is energy that needs to move. Not for the mind to hold on to it, not for your body to tense up and hold on to it. It's got to move. And then the downregulated nervous system, I see it as the channel opening, and then that energy being able to actually flow through your system, to process, to move out of your head, to move out of your body, to release in some way that is serving you and not actually upregulating you even more. Another example in my own process, when there was intensity, there was a lot of energy. I have a lot of fire in my natal chart, for example. So from that system, from that perspective, that would make sense why I would go to do super high intensity exercise to move through the energy. But I found that actually burnt me out. It was like I associated downregulation with no energy, but that's not the way it has to be. So, moral of the story is check in with your nervous system. Check in with your current state. If you want to do some research on the vagus nerve, on the stress response, on fight or flight, I highly recommend just informing yourself. If you struggle to do nothing, if you struggle to relax, if you are super anxious, extremely fast, when something even small happens that you didn't expect or that you don't deem as good, like someone speaking to you in a bitey tone, and then suddenly your nervous system flares up, pay attention to that, because this is a sign that your nervous system is riding an edge. And if it stays on the edge, even minutes after, that's also a sign that you really need to tune in, check in, drop in, and allow yourself to relax. Do what you need to do to relax. If that is journaling, if that is doing some body shaking, if that is lying down in Shavasana, if that is putting on relaxing music, if that is literally standing on the earth, do that. I recommend not eating. This is emotional eating, and I have done this a lot actually, because I get super flighty and I just associate grounding with food, which is great, but there are other ways to do that as well. Because if you're in a state, what you're consuming is maybe prolonging that time in between you actually processing it and releasing it, instead of then adding something else to process it, which might even shove it down. Something to consider. You know, we all have those times where it's like, fuck it, I want a chocolate cake. I'm feeling crap. And yeah, that could serve your emotional body. That's health on a holistic level, right? We're looking at the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, relational. So what might not be ideal for your physical, maybe your emotional body really needs that. So it's a constant check-in. It's not one size fits all. So you've got this. There's so much information out there. Don't freak yourself out. We want you to relax. If you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling confused, if you're feeling angry, allow that to be in your awareness so you can deal with it. And you can communicate clearly what your needs are. If you don't know what your needs are, then at least, even after listening to these words or later on in the day, take the time to just write something out. Take the time to sit and reflect. And even if it's just a few minutes, you'll thank yourself for it. Okay, let's keep moving that energy. No more stuckness, huh? See you soon. Thanks for being here.